So, good morning. How do you say hello in Swiss German?
Grüezi.
Yeah, or grüezi, very good. So grüezi and welcome to the tour. My name is Jonathan. I like three things. I like to eat chocolate, I like to travel, and I love doing these tours. And I'd like to share with you this passion on this next 1.5 hours. What we're going to do today, we're going to downtown Zurich, talk a little bit about the history of Zurich, but also about modern subjects like Swiss food, Swiss army, and the sweetest thing, Swiss chocolate, of course. In a nutshell, everything you should know to impress your local friends after the tour. Now, I do have three important, I don't like to say rules. I think you're not at school, I'm not a teacher, so let's rather say guidelines for the tour. Number one, most important, today it's your tour. It's your tour and not my tour, because I've done the tour already 290 something times, so you're getting into routine as a guide. Therefore, it's your tour. That means whenever you have a question, whenever you want to know something more in detail, just ask me. Whenever you feel like I'm talking too long about the subject, which is completely boring, now, how would you communicate that? You're too offensive. We're Swiss. We're in Switzerland here. It'd be more. We're more diplomats here. How can you do it here?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Is there something else we can
Very good. It's getting very good. So the Swiss way is like, oh, thanks for sharing that story. That's super interesting. But excuse me, we're running out of time. Okay. This means it's a disaster. Move on. That's why we communicate. Second important thing, please take pictures. We have great weather today. It's also a bit special today because Julien, who is also a tour guide, is going to take also some movie and some pictures. Now, he might also take some pictures of you. In case you don't want to be on pictures because you're told your boss you're sick or because you travel with a person you're not supposed to be with, just let us know. No need to explain, it's all okay. And of course, third and most important thing, who of you has ever joined a free walking tour in any city? About half of the group. Well, here it's exactly the same concept. Very simple concept. We're a group of people that love to travel, and when we're not traveling, we're happy to have you travel for us. And we have, however, probably the only job in Switzerland which is not fixedly paid. So we're not getting a salary by the city, by the government, by whoever. The only one to make the tour run are people like you. So at the end of the tour, you will decide how much this tour is worth for you and what you want to contribute to the tour. Does this sound like a fair deal? Yep. Very good. Okay, so it's always good to know who is joining today's tour. So let's make a quick intro round so we know where we're all coming from. Again, I'm Jonathan from Switzerland, and you are?
from
Israel, welcome. Israel, welcome. Zurich, welcome. Good to know we have some locals. Yes. Israel as well, welcome. Alex. From? Romania, yes. USA. From Zurich, from Switzerland, yes. Vancouver, Canada. Same. Germany, Deutschland, yeah. USA, US. Australia, Vancouver, Canada. Sorry? London. Finland, US, yeah. Ireland, Israel, San Francisco, US. Canada, Netherlands. Sorry? Malta. Also Malta, yeah. Malta. Slovenia. Brazil, Venus, Brazil, yeah. US. India. US. Same. US. This is my father who's supervising me today. Yes? San Francisco. California, US. Iraq. Okay, great. We're an international group. So let's start with a question. What's the capital of this country? Ah, you're well prepared, yeah. Well, it's correct. It's Bern. I asked the question because people often say Zurich, which is wrong. People sometimes say Geneva, which is very wrong. And sometimes I hear Stockholm. Don't ask me. Now, one last thing. I'm sure you've all traveled a lot, and a typical thing a tour guide will tell you is please watch your stuff, right? There are a lot of thieves, people might steal, so please watch your stuff. Here in Zurich, it's a bit different. Here in Zurich, be relaxed. This is my wallet, okay? Let's say I'll leave it here. The chance that I'll get it back today, including the money, is very, very high. There's a high chance people will take it, will look whom it belongs, bring it to the police, and I'll get it back somehow. So it's really amazing. Nevertheless, there is one big threat for tourists here. What's the biggest problem here?
It's expensive?
It's expensive, yeah, that's true. It ruins your money, yeah? Yeah, and just behind you.
Trams?
The trams. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of accidents, especially with these new trams. They're very, very silent. They're called Cobra, unofficially. Yeah, because they're silent, and when they hit you, you're unlucky. So just please don't mess with them. They're faster, stronger, and bigger than us, so let's always watch the trams. And by the way, the thing with the wallet, just believe me that we're not going to test it out today. It's not the best time today. Okay, so, and if you have any questions, if you want to just cover any subject or anything to add, please feel free to come to the front and ask me that, and I'll say let's go there and learn what a very smart lady has done 1,200 years ago. Good? Let's go. Here.
On the church.
Careful when crossing. Okay. Okay, very good. No accidents. That's the biggest challenge, is the trams. Okay. Ça va? Le truc de sound ne va pas, t'as dit, non?
Il y a du son, mais ça va pas être
Ça
bien.
suffit pas pour... Ok.
Voilà.
The middle of the tour. It's going to be a chocolate stop, of course. Ah, you will see. I'm not telling you that. You'll see it. Oh, really? We'll talk about that actually. Yes. Belgium also can get big chocolate, sure.
The first person who made chocolate, he was in Germany, and he first was saying that it came from Europe, I think, but then he was saying that it came from Belgium.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Hey, Jonathan, are we going to end up back at Parade?
Very close by. We're gonna end up from here, so yeah. Easily find that.
I just went parking.
Ah, we're not getting, yeah. Not getting lost here. Ah non, ça y est, des gens qui arrivent comme ça. Alors, okay, let's have a quick stop here. Okay, maybe you can stand here, so we leave the exit free, and this is what I want to show you here. That's the highlight. The stop. Okay, can you hear me at the back? Yes, if not, let me know. there's some construction. Okay, so I just said Zurich is safe and clean, and now let's have a look at this painting. What can you see here? No heads, right? A man and a woman holding their heads. What a horrible way to start a tour with, huh? Keep this painting in mind, because later on we're going to go to the Church of the Two Towers, and there is a relation between the headless people and this church with the two towers. But let's first go back in history. We go back 1200 years ago. Did anybody of you study Zurich history by chance? Nobody. Easy day for me, huh? Can tell you what I want. Anyway, so we started the year 800. Year 800, Zurich was ruled by a German Kaiser called Louis II, a grandson of Charlemagne, and he had a daughter that he loved a lot. Her name was Hildegard. So he wanted to offer her something absolutely unique. Now I've got a question to the ladies in this group. Imagine your father is ruling over a territory as big as Europe and wants to offer you a present. What would you like to get? A country. Good start. Anybody else?
Castle.
A castle? Any other wishes? An island? Might be difficult here, but yeah. A castle again. I see 2 for castle. Yes. Now let's hear what Hildegard said. Hildegard said, "Well, Daddy, if I can get everything I want, I'm getting a convent." Yeah, your enthusiasm is rather low, isn't it? But it was a smart choice from her. Why? Women from the nobility in the 8th century, they could either get married or become a nun. Hildegard said, "Well, as my father is so powerful, I'm doing a little bit of business here." So she became a nun. She also got married. Completely unusual, but she did it. And she was also the one ruling in Zurich. So all the power of Zurich, everything was concentrated here by the women, by Hildegard and all the ladies that came after her for 500 years. So yes, Zurich was ruled for 500 years by the women over here. Yes. Now later this became a church, a Catholic church, and later with the Reformation, a Reformed church. And today you can find here inside one of the most well-known tourist attractions of Zurich. What is it? Chagall, yes, the windows painted by Marc Chagall. Have you all heard of Marc Chagall?
No.
No? We always have to be very careful when talking about Chagall, depending on the people I have on the group, because Belarusian people would usually go and say Chagall, Nasha, he's one of us. French people would say, no, Marc Chagall était français, he was French. And also Israeli people telling me he was Jewish, so he's one of them. Anyway, getting too complicated. How to make it very easy? What's the Swiss solution to that? How do we Swiss deal with that? Well, he wasn't Swiss, we couldn't say that, no. But you did. He had many nations and we're neutral, or much easier, we say, guys, we don't care about his nationality because we got the paintings. That's it. So definitely something you could visit after the tour. Now, any questions to that? No? So I'd like to introduce you to Hans Waldmann, the guy sitting there on the horse. He was a politician, and he did the worst thing a politician could ever do in this city. So think about your politician, about bad things they do, and let's see if they are as bad as Hans Waldmann was. Let's go there.
We've been in Munich and Salzburg, and it's been incredibly hot.
Yeah, it was here the thing. Today it's a good day. Okay, very quick stop here. Okay. Can you hear me at the back? Not yet. Okay, so let's talk about politics. What's the worst thing your politician do? Steal. Any other? Go to war. Sorry?
They gave out pieces of our land.
Give piece of land away. Let's talk about this guy, Hans Waldmann. Hans Waldmann was a mayor, a Bürgermeister, for those who speak German. He was a mayor in Zurich, and people liked him actually. He was a successful mayor. He had to fight different wars, he won most of them, people liked him. However, after winning so many wars, he had a little problem. As you know, a war costs money, and he was running out of money. Now, what do you do as a politician when you run out of money? Yeah, you know it, yeah, you tax people, you raise the taxes. And that's what Hans Waldmann said. He said, no problem, I'm going to raise the taxes. How did people in Zurich react to this idea of raising taxes? They killed him, yeah, that's it. Oh, very quick.
Really?
It happened over there. No, don't get inspired by him. Don't do it at home. But he got killed over there where we have today Bahnhof Stadelhofen, about 1 kilometer from here. And what always amazes me is where they put the statue. The statue is quite interestingly located here. Let's realize why. If you look at the house over there, can you see the house on the water? This is the parliament of Zurich, the local parliament. The house behind you over there, this is the government of Zurich. What does that mean for our politicians? Wherever they are, whenever they go to work, who do they always see? And this should be a warning sign. Don't worry, if you want to become a politician and you raise the taxes, we won't kill you, but will not be re-elected for sure. So don't mess with the taxes. Any questions to that? Now it's time for a little challenge. What we're going to do now, we're going to go to the church, to this water church, and from there I'm going to give you a sign. Whenever you hear my voice or see the umbrella, please count the number of steps. Not of the stairs over there, but of steps that you need to walk from the water church to the church with the 2 towers. This is not part of a silly game. It's related to the legend of the headless people. So let's see over there why and how it happened. So we're going to start the counting just by the water church. I'll give you a sign. Let's go there.
And I got a great picture of them.
The umbrella su casa. Anche casa. No, we're 400 meters up. Okay, from here we start counting. Please think about trams, pay attention to trams, cars, bicycles. They're not part of the game, okay? So always pay attention. We count from here to over there with the little king, this man standing there. Okay, let's see how many steps we need. From here, let's go.
Ja, komm, wir gehen weiter.
8, okay. Just gonna see now. Okay. So, let's go back in history. Now we go back 2,000 years ago when the Romans came. We're going to talk later about the Romans. When the Romans came, one of the first political decisions they made was to chase Christians, Christian believers. And according to a legend, what happened? A brother and a sister called Felix and Regula, they were here. The Romans caught them just here at the water church, and there they were beheaded. But now, Felix and Regula didn't die. Instead of dying, they took their heads. Remember the painting you saw before? So apparently Felix and Regula took their heads and walked how many steps? 75, 80, was less than 50, anybody? 40, yeah, it was 40. Apparently, well, maybe they were really tall, but that's a legend. So Felix and Regula took them 40 steps, they arrived here, and then what happened? Then they died, that's it, yeah, that's it for the story. Now, I'm not such a fan of the story, neither are you. But a person loved this one, and this is the man standing there on the church. This is Charlemagne. Well, he was so impressed by the story of Felix and Regula, so he decided to build here a church. And when you go inside this church, called Großmünster today, you still see a leftover of his church, which is a small room with a big statue of... No, not Felix and Regula, but of course, of himself. That's how he made it, yeah, of Charlemagne. So you can see it. During medieval time, this was a monastery for men. And if you remember what was on the other side of the river?
Monastery for women.
Yeah, a convent for women. Oh, there are many stories and legend about the relation they had. But to give you one, apparently some women over there, they got pregnant and they were not married. Well, one option is called Holy Ghost. Other option apparently is called under river tunneling system. Apparently there was a tunnel system connecting those two buildings some 100 years ago. I'll leave it up to you to believe what you want. On the other side, however, of this church, there is you can see the towers. And the towers are quite amazing because of its architectural style. So let's go over there, talk about the style, which is also related to our next subject, to Swiss food. So let's see how towers are related to food. Let's go there.
Is this a Protestant church?
Yeah, now it's a Protestant church. You can visit it after the tour. Yeah.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Münster is Kirche.
No, Minster means more monastery.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why it's the same over there also.
Großmünster and the other one is Fraumünster. Yeah, it means the monastery of women. I've heard in English you rather use convent when it's women. But it's the same, yeah. Same concept. Okay. Let's have a quick stop here. Maybe you can stand on this side so you can see the interesting part, which are the towers. I'm going to take this out of the way. Okay, is anyone an architect here? Looking for architects now? Yeah, good. Maybe you can help us with the styles. Do you recognize some architectural styles in this building, and within the towers? Baroque. Okay. Gothic. Yeah, we have Gothic on the top, Neo-Gothic, and on the bottom. Rather Romanesque. Yeah. Now we have a mixture here of two different styles, Romanesque and Neo-Gothic. Now, a question to you: why do we mix two different architectural styles? Build at different times. I like your answer. That's nice. Some people say the Swiss people are just slow in building something. So, yeah, build different time. Well, what was there? There used to be towers in Romanesque style. And then our biggest enemy came. I'm going to talk about our biggest enemy again when we're over there at the other church. It's called fire. So lightning hits the tower, burns down, and had to be rebuilt. So it was decided to rebuild the tower in contemporary style, which was neo-Gothic. And because we like symmetry, it was also decided to rebuild the other tower again, so they look more or less again the same. Now, this is the official part. Now let's talk about the unofficial part. Let's say next time you come to Zurich and you meet your local friend. Who of you does have a local friend here? Some of you? Okay, all the others, you know me. Next time you come to Zurich, you meet me for a coffee. Please, we will have to meet here. And don't text me, Jonathan, we meet in front of Grossmünster. Because Grossmünster is for beginners. That's too easy to know the Grossmünster. How do we in Zurich call these two towers? We have an unofficial name for them. Twin? No, not that. Think about something you have on the table. Exactly, it's salt and pepper shaker. Very good. So if you're talking about salt and pepper shaker and the person understands what you're talking about, he or she is either a local, has been living here for many years, or well, has joined the tour one day. But yeah, keep in mind salt and pepper. And salt and pepper, you need to spice your food. Now question 2, what do you know about Swiss food? Sorry? Rösti, yeah, do you know what's rösti? Usually translated with kind of hash brown for the Americans. Potato, becomes brown. Called rösti, just try it out. No need for me to explain, just try it out. Yeah, what else?
Fondue.
Fondue, very famous. Raclette, a lot of cheesy dishes. Now, we love our Swiss cuisine, no doubt about that. Nevertheless, we're very lucky to live in Zurich, which is a city that has people from all over the world. That means we also have restaurants from all over the world. All the countries you named before, I'm quite comfortable to find a place where they serve your local dish. So what I want you to do now, we're going to walk through this area, pay a little bit of attention on your left and right side on the different food concepts you see, and then on our next stop, I'll tell you the rules, the do's and don'ts when eating fondue that you should know, and I will also name the place you can find the cheapest coffee in Zurich. Believe me, it's not where you expect it to be. So let's go there and talk about food and coffee. You should. But I'm from work and that's really good hours down there. What brings which one? The 31st? No, careful. Oh. No, he should be careful here in the you don't want to mess with the traffic. So what brings you to here? What brings you to
We have friends. They've been working here for a year.
Okay. 6 months. Wow. Zurich is your last or first? Can you spend all your money here? That's like usually Zurich is the last destination. They can spend everything. Yeah, that's really good. How do you hear about it? How do you do it? When it's bad, you will say that. Yeah, Zurich West. It's the same. It's really different. Zurich West is more industrial area. Worried about how to secure. Yes. So some people love Zurich West. Yeah, that's the best. Right? I mean, the biggest thing I don't like is as much as I can gain yeah, lots. Yes.
All the coffee shops have to be
Ah, true. Yeah. Now here you get coffee even if you're young. Turn to the left. Okay, we turn to the left. Le flag, l'umbrella, il est super. Chaque personne qui regarde.
On regarde, ouais.
Oui, c'est beaucoup mieux que le flag. C'est immense. Les gens, et surtout les gens te voient. Si tu fais comme ça, tu peux même être Ronnie et. Sérieusement, ça c'est 3 mètres. India. Where in India? That's nice. So here in travel or work?
My sister lives
Yeah. Okay, next challenge. Okay, one more crossing. Let's go. That's always when I'm nervous on the tour. Okay, let's come. Okay, come on.
What was the name of that neighborhood?
Okay, very good. We're gonna move over there. We're going to the police, talking about food. Let's go here.
That neighborhood we just walked the other day.
Sorry?
That neighborhood, does that have a name?
Yeah, Needledog. Needledog, which means the lower zone. Oh, no, here's the lower Gulf in the village.
Oh, village.
Okay, here you can choose between sun and shade. And as a Swiss, I'm neutral, of course. I'll stand here. Good. Now let's talk about food. What kind of food concept did you see on the way to here?
Tapas.
Tapas, yeah, Spanish food.
Cakes?
Cakes, yeah, okay, that's international probably, yeah. Muesli, it's another Swiss thing, exactly, typically eaten here.
pasta.
Pasta, a lot of pasta, Italian places as well. Well, anyway, you find here almost everything, as I said, either in this area or behind the train station. Just ask me after the tour if you need any specific advice. I love to eat, so I definitely can help you out for that. Now, let's talk about food. Let's talk about the main Swiss dish called fondue. Who of you has had fondue? You're all so tourists. Oh God. Nobody has fondue in summer, but it's okay. You should still have it when you have the chance. Now, how do you eat fondue? Who wants to explain how to eat fondue? Yeah? How do you eat fondue?
You just take a metal fork stick thingy.
Yes.
Put on like a piece of bread or a carrot or whatever you want to eat. Stick it in the fondue, stick it out, and eat it.
Very good. That's correct. Perfect. Very good. That's good. Now let's do the question. Well, what happens if this piece of bread or potato falls into the cheese pot? Sorry? Yeah, what do we do then? Well, when it falls inside.
You get wiped out.
You get wiped out, okay. Well, here it's getting interesting because there are some rules you should know. Some people say you need to dance naked on the table. Yeah, I think that's rather a joke. I never saw anyone practicing this, but you can be the first one, why not? Other people say you need to pay for everybody a round of shot or a glass of wine. Well, this might end up as a very funny night. Some people say you need to pay for everybody. This might end up as a very expensive night if you look at the prices here. And there is another thing, I think my favorite one is what teenagers do. Now teenagers, they're not allowed to drink and they can't afford to pay. So they also came up with another thing. What can they do when the bread falls into the cheese pot? They kiss. Who do they kiss?
A boy or a girl?
Yeah, they kiss the person on their right. Now what happened to me? Last year I had Fondue in one of the places there on a Saturday night, and suddenly a group of teenagers came in. And what was the first thing they did? Before dropping.
They picked who they were sitting.
I call it strategically positioning themselves. Everybody was moving around. Hilarious. The other thing which amazed me was that usually, well, I have maybe 5 times a year Fondue. It never happened to me or to anybody on my table that the bread fell into the cheese pot. On the teenies table, every 20 seconds. Oops, sorry. No, you can imagine that. So when you have Fondue, just know what rule is applied and be correctly seated. Then you're going to have a good time. Then another thing, I'm not really sure if I'm allowed to talk about that. It's very, very controversial. Whenever I travel and I meet other tour guides, there is one subject tour guides are fighting all over the world. It's about the question, should a tour guide be allowed to tell people, tourists, what's also bad in his or her country? You think so?
Yes.
I definitely agree on that. I also think it's completely okay to do it, although many tour guides would disagree with me. But one really horrible thing that's happening here, I believe it's really a big catastrophe, is food waste. We have one of the highest food waste in the world. It's just horrible. I mean, it starts from production, it goes to private households where a lot of food is wasted. And even recently, I need to ask you an honest question. I think today we have the 7th of August. Let's say you see a yogurt that has expired on the 5th. Who of you would still eat it? Some of you. That's how it should be, actually. Recently, there was even on Swiss TV a professor for gastrology who ate a yogurt that had expired 10 days ago. And he said, it's not a problem, just smell it, look at it, use your sense and then decide. But unfortunately, we have a bit the mentality of wasting a lot of food. Now, there is a very nice initiative against it. Just that you know, all the flyers and vouchers I'm giving you, these are things that we have received. We're not getting any kickback or any commission. It's free for every guy to give whatever he or she wants. One thing I really like is the Aspar. It's not Aspar, it's Aspar, it means food bar or edible. What they do is they collect pastry, bread, products that weren't sold the day they were produced, and they sell it the day after for half or a third of the price. So it's a very good way against this food wasting mentality. And they also have the cheapest lunch in Zurich, which is a sandwich and a drink for 5 francs. So if you want to have one, just take. If you don't like it, just pass it to the next person. I'm going to give it around. And if you don't want, just don't take. So here, I'm going to give it around. You can just take it. Now let's talk about coffee. How much you pay here for a coffee? 6 francs. 4, yeah. Usually the normal price for an espresso is 4.60, but as soon as you go for a cappuccino, latte macchiato, it's 5, 6, 7 even. So when we started doing the tour 5.5 years ago, we went to many coffee shops asking the question, can you make a special price for our guests? And what was the answer we received? No. With what explanation? They explained it, why no?
Because then they won't get that much of a profit.
They won't get that much of a profit? Yeah, that would be a good answer, but they say it differently. They said, look, Jonathan, people who can afford to travel to Zurich can afford to pay a coffee in Zurich. That's the answer I got. Nevertheless, we didn't give up. And finally, we continued asking, and we find the so-called Seattle-based coffee chain Starbucks. I know, I have to really be careful now. Some people travel the world to get Starbucks. Some people travel the world to avoid Starbucks. We're neutral again. So, for those who want to have a 2-for-1 voucher, you pay 1 coffee, you get 1 for free. Before you're too excited about that, just know that the Starbucks drinks in Zurich are the 3rd most expensive in the world. Yes. This is what a manager, Pavel, told me. And then I asked him, well, if Zurich is number 3, who's number 1 and 2? He said number 2 is Geneva. I said, you're funny. Now, who's number 1? Now guess. Who's number 1?
Bern.
Bern? Well, it's not a Swiss city. That's a good news. So Oslo? Other ideas? Paris? Stockholm?
US?
Somewhere in the US? Seattle? You are all wrong. It is Zurich Airport. Keep it. Very simple. So if you want to have a voucher and you're 2 people, please take 1. If you don't like Starbucks, don't hear it. Just don't take one. I'm going to give it here also around. Also here, and you can just give it around. Okay, any questions to that? Food, coffee, drinks, anything related to that? Everything except of chocolate that we're going to cover later. Thank you. No, so it's time for a little walk. We're going to walk up, not the Swiss Alps, but this little hill called Lindenhof. And from there we're going to get a perfect view, so it's really worth this little walk. And on the way there, I also want to tell you why we have so many arms in this country. Although we're a peaceful country, there's still a lot of arms. Let's talk about this craziness. And then we're going to go to Lindenhof and finally talk about chocolate. Okay, so that's the program. I would say let's go. Thank you.
I was just gonna.
You want to drink so much coffee? Okay, let's go. If you need any more voucher, come to me.
What do the Swiss eat in the summer months?
No, what is eaten a lot, we have a Swiss called Swiss plate. So this is typically called cheese, ham and cheese. So another typical thing. But of course, I mean, we're so influenced by other cuisines, so it's completely normal that you eat your sushi or pasta. Or
Yeah, I've seen Italian food is quite popular, even though the Italian side is on the south.
But there was a big Italian immigration here 40 years ago. Italian food, people love it here. Yeah. Italian food is super easy to get.
And also, I get that military service is mandatory.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Just
okay.
Yeah, it's mandatory. Yes.
Didn't want to spoil the party.
No, but it's just, I'm just going to tell you the next one. Indeed, it's mandatory for men and women are allowed. Enjoy a bit the view. We're going here. Please be careful if you're very tall. Watch your head. Tu rentres encore?
Ouais.
Oh, ça va. Toi, ça fait rire, hein? You have to play a round of shots.
Ouais.
Pensez au prix.
Je savais déjà.
Yes. We're Freework Zurich, Freework Switzerland. It's not a company, we're an association.
Ah, it's just a private one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to join the tour? If you've been already. Or?
Yeah, my friend wants to join the group.
One second, I'm going to give you a map. So you can find all the information there. It's freewalk.ca.
Oh, okay, free walk.
Yeah, just have it here. You can find all the information, all the tours. Welcome. Now it's the great. People doing whatever they want. But we don't really make it. He's already talking about coffee, about everything. What?
The level of fixation.
Which is low here. It's low.
Yeah, very low.
Well, thanks God.
I think in the US it's like 5%.
I don't know about the US exactly how much. I think it depends on your income, but. Okay, ready to walk up? It's really worth it. Don't worry, it's 2 minutes walk, not more. Let's. Yeah. Oh my God, it's steep. Yes. Yeah, sure. Okay, so here, you have this bunker. That's, well, it's not so easy. Everybody in shape? There's gonna be compensation later, don't worry. If you want to do more sports, you want to do push-ups, you can do them here. No, I'm serious. Have you heard of boot camp?
Yeah.
You know this training method where so my friend David is an instructor, and I did participate once. And here you sprint up, push-ups, you go back, you sprint, push-ups. So it's completely okay. Nobody will think it's completely good. Okay, let's talk here about another thing. What is Switzerland famous for except of cheese and chocolate? Neutrality. You're getting close to our next topic. Neutrality, yes? Watches, yes? Cheese, banks, yeah.
Chocolate.
And Swiss Army knives, exactly. Getting to the next
Well-armed civilian.
well-armed civilian army. It's another quite interesting thing. And not many people are aware of that, but Switzerland has an army, and quite a big army for such a small country. And we're also one of the few countries in Europe where people still have to serve. So we have mandatory service for all men. Women are allowed to join, just a few hundreds who do it, but men have to serve. And we serve for 21 weeks, so it's about 4 or 5 months. And then every year we have a repetition course. So every year you go back to the army, and you repeat and you prepare again for the war.
For how long? Like
It
a
depends
week
on
or
your
something?
rank and function, up until 30, some people even longer, up until 50. So it's another quite unique thing that we have here. I think in Israel and also in Singapore, they have a very similar system, actually copied from here. It was a Swiss invention, that you just reserve in the army again and again. Another thing that we have to do in Switzerland, and that's why we have so many arms in this country, because we keep the rifle, the army rifle, at home. That makes it quite interesting. And another thing we have to do every year is everybody who serves in the army needs to go to the mandatory shooting. So mandatory shooting means you go home, you take your rifle, you go to the area, you shoot 20 bullets, you clean your rifle, and you go back home. And this is something you can do in shorts and t-shirts. So it happened to me, when was it, 2 years ago, on a hot summer day. I went home on the bicycle with the rifle, climbed up the mountain, and I could perfectly see who's a tourist and who's a local. Well, usually local, mostly elderly men looked at me with the face of, yes, young man, I've done the same when I was your age, obviously. Tourists usually looked with the face of, tourists usually look with the face of, what the hell is this guy with this big rifle doing? Hello. Hello. Not allowed to talk about that. Yeah, that's exactly probably you see who's a local and who's a tourist. Now, another interesting thing, we have an army and we have a lot of other things to prepare us for the war, which are these things. Bunkers. Now, this now is a parking place, so don't worry, nothing weird happened here. It's also used as a parking place, but it's a bunker. We have more than 45,000 bunkers in this country, with a capacity of 8.5 million people. Remember that number? There's going to be a test at the end. I'm going to ask you that question. So 8.5 million people, which is the whole population, including all of you. My friends, we're all safe. And why do we keep these bunkers? Do you know when we've been engaged into a war last time? Well, never. It's too good. No, not that good.
1830?
Against a little French guy 200 years ago. Little French guy, yeah. 200 years ago was the last war. Nevertheless, Switzerland has been in threat during the last 100, 200 years. And to understand a bit our mentality, we love everybody, but we don't. That's probably, we don't trust anyone. That's why we keep an army and we keep a lot of bunkers for the case of war. Now, always know army and bunker is a subject. Some people are super interested, some people are not. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to walk up to Lindenhof. There you can ask me all more questions you have to this subject from all details. For all the others, you can take some pictures over there. It's really a nice day today. Take some pictures. Drink some water. Fill out your bottle. There is some free water over there. There is a fountain. You can get water. And after the 5 minutes break, we're finally talking about my favorite subject, about Swiss chocolate. Okay? Let's go there.
French fries were invented in Belgium. I'm not sure if the chocolate was invented.
We're going to see now.
I don't trust Belgium or Switzerland.
Okay. Okay, please go over there, take some pictures, enjoy your break, drink some water. Okay. Drink too much water. Okay, so we spoke already about the name of the river, Limmat, exactly. Now I want to show you also here, this is the University of Zurich. The one with the green roof on the back is the headquarters of the University of Zurich. And next to it, this other gray building, this big building, is the ETH, which is the Eidgenössisch Technische Hochschule, that's German, or the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in English, or as we like to call it, the Swiss MIT. We call it like that because we're very proud of this institution. I want to give you one number that you should remember, because also this is going to be part of the test. 21, remember 21. 21 people who've been to ETH have won a Nobel Prize in their career. This is a really impressive number. I don't know the names of those 21 people. That means that I won't be the 22nd for sure. But I know two of them, and I'd like to share with you those two names. One, Albert Einstein. I think you all know Albert Einstein, no need to talk about him. He's been here at ETH. And there's also been Wilhelm Röntgen. All the German speakers surely know him. He discovered the X-ray. As we say in German, the Röntgen ray or Röntgenstrahlen. So he's been here as well. And 19 more smart people. Good, that's for the ETH. Now let's finally talk about chocolate. What do you know about Swiss chocolate? It's delicious, that's it? Good. What should I add? It's good because of the milk, guys. It's a good point. Yeah, we have a lot of milk chocolate here. And this is a bit the advertisement, but we say we have very good milk chocolate because we have a lot of cows in this country. And the cows are very happy to live in Switzerland, so they produce a lot of happy milk. So that's a bit what is said. However, what has been invented here, well, of course, cocoa bean doesn't come from here, but what has been invented here is a technique called to conch. Maybe you've heard of this expression, to conch, or conchieren in German. Conchieren means you take the ingredients, so sugar, milk, cocoa beans, or whatever you want, cocoa butter, and then you conch it. That means you mix it so that the chocolate is hard from outside and melts on your tongue. That's how you get it. So this was invented here by Rudolf Lindt. He invented this technique. Then we in Switzerland believe also to have the best chocolate in the world. There is another country in Europe. Belgium. Did you have Belgian chocolate? It's not so good, right?
It's better.
It's better, yeah. It's a hard thing about who has the best. And I remember I studied in Belgium 7 years ago. We were students from 50-something countries, and there was always a fight between the Swiss and the Belgian students about who has the best chocolate, until one night we decided we're going to make a test. We asked our Turkish friend Ergun to be the referee, and we brought chocolate, the Belgian brought chocolate, and people could test. And indeed, Swiss chocolate won with 70%, something like that. So we believe that's scientific enough. And if you want to read it, Ergun even wrote a paper about that. So if you want to read an 8-page paper about how it was involved, what chocolate was used, send me an SMS, WhatsApp, or mail. You have my contact details on the map. I'll be very happy to send you that. It's a very entertaining reading on your way home. Now, what happened to me last year? Last year, in August, on a very hot day, my dear father was already on the tour. So it was his first tour. And to be honest, I was a bit nervous because he's very, very critical. During the whole tour, like today, I was just standing there, not saying a word, not just poker face all the time. So I was a bit nervous. And after the tour, we had a coffee. And of course, my question was, well, now you've seen my tour, feedback, please. And then he told me, look, you've done a horrible mistake on your tour. I was like, okay, what did I do so wrong? Maybe I confused the date or building, I named it wrongly. No. Well, maybe I was impolite to the people, I might have hurt somebody or not nice or rude. I really didn't know what I did so wrong. And then he told me following. He said, in life, it's not about what you say, but about what you prove. And if you want people to be impressed about Swiss chocolate, don't just tell people how great chocolate is, rather bring it with you. And this is a very good inspiration, so we decided to bring you some Swiss chocolate. And I would say today we have Branche, one of my favorite. I would say I should stop talking and help yourself, please. Welcome. 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 Welcome.
Thank you, that's very nice.
Welcome. 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 Yeah, sure. Welcome. 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 Obrigado. Por favor. É muito bom. Yep. Welcome. Welcome. No, it's just the color. I'll get it. It's the same taste, don't worry. Does everybody have? How's the chocolate? Good. Okay, one more question to chocolate. If you ask 10 people, do you like chocolate? How many would say yes? 9. Why 9? I love chocolate. Because there is always a liar in the group. That's the reason. Let's go over there and see why the Romans came to Zurich. They had a good reason, which is not related to chocolate, but still they had good reason to come. So, well, let's see why. Let's go there.
Der Feuerwehrmensch und der hat dann immer geschrien, wenn es brennt, also geläutet. Nee, ich glaube nicht.
Okay, again, here you can choose between shade and sun. Whatever is more convenient. Okay, let's go back to history 2,000 years ago. Remember who came here 2,000 years ago? Romans, very good. And the Romans, they did many things. They first of all gave the name to that city. Do you know what's the Roman name of that city? The name Zurich or Zurich derives from the Latin name Turicum. So that's a Latin name. Now, the Romans settled down here in Turicum, built the city. Question to you, why did they build here a city?
Water.
Water. I'll just let the people pass.
Thank you.
Thank you. Exactly, water. One of the main reasons was water. Easy way. There is a lot of water here. What did they do? They stopped the ships. Everybody that wanted to pass by, they had to pay taxes. So an easy way of doing some as a tax collecting point. Second thing, the Romans always had troops here. So whenever a war would break out in the Northern Empire, they could easily send troops to help out. These are the main two reasons. Now, how do we know all of that? Thanks to this tombstone, which is, by the way, not the original one, so don't steal it, please. It's a copy. And here we find the story of a baby that was buried here. And next to it, it's written here, in statio Turicensis. For those who speak some Latin, it means the station of Turicum. And because it's written station of Turicum, our historians learned that this wasn't really a city for the Romans, but rather a station. And as I explained, for tax collecting and for the army. So all of this information we got thanks to this tombstone. Any questions to that? No? So my question to you, what's the time? No, don't watch here. Here. And you see this clock? It's the largest clock face in Europe. It's very, very big. To give you the number, it has a diameter. How big do you think it is? How much is the diameter? 4 meters more. Almost. It's 8.7 meters, so 29 feet, or 4.5 times this size. So 4.5 times this is this clock face. It's very big. It used to be the only clock in Zurich during medieval time. So nobody had ever an excuse of running late in Zurich, as everybody was able to read the time. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go there. You can take some close-up pictures, and I will tell you there who was standing there inside this clock face until 1911. It was a guy with a very important job. Let's talk about his job over there.
How many meters again?
8.7 the diameter, 29 feet. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
How did the First and Second World War affect Switzerland? Like, how did they feel it? How did it line up?
You don't have a one sentence
If they
answer.
didn't participate.
No, in one sense I can't say. The World War I led in Switzerland actually to a big revolution, led to a catastrophe because many people were extremely poor and there was no social system. So after World War I, there was a new social system came here. That there is insurance, it's like sick. So this was a big social system. And World War II is too complicated. To make it short, some people say it was the only place. The place on the other hand, there was a lot of trade, of course. But it had the effect on the argument already, and people basically live sort of regularly. No. There was, of course, people had to go to much more food and import and import. Of course, that's not enough. We didn't take it. Of course not. Okay, let's go here to the right.
This chocolate is a lot more sweet.
Sweet, huh? Ce petit stop ici. Let's have a quick stop here. Ah, it's shady. Great. First you take the pictures, then I'll tell you the story. Okay, I already said it's it's the largest clock face in Europe. And what's interesting here is that the tower and the nave of the church, they look a bit different, right? So it looks like two different buildings that they put together. And it's also like that because the nave of the church was built 400 years later to the tower. And today we have quite an interesting situation. If somebody would ask you who's the owner of this church, you can be really smart by saying, excuse me, depends what part you're talking about. Because the nave of the church belongs to the Protestant Church of the state of Zurich, which is the normal one, the church that belongs to the church. However, the tower belongs to the city. It's a public tower, exactly. And it's a public tower because until 1911, a bit more than 100 years, a certain man was sitting there. Who was this guy? A man that he was looking for something, looking for our biggest enemy. Remember? Fire. Exactly, it was the fire brigade. Fireman sitting there and watching for fire. Now, how can you be sure that this guy didn't fall asleep at night?
The bells.
He had to run the bells every 15 minutes. Imagine you live here and you have a light sleep. Or you have no sleep probably. But yeah, still today. But today it's not because of the fire. It's more a tradition. But indeed, people didn't really slept well because of that, but people accepted that because they were so much afraid of getting burnt. And if you look at the houses here, you see how they're built extremely close to each other, and people were heating with wood, so one little fire could destroy a lot. That's why this job was so important until 1911 by the fire brigade. Okay, now we've been already 1 hour, 15 together. I hope you trust me so far. Because I want to take you to a shady area. I'm sure we can make it. I'm going to go here and turn to the left. And there I want to show you the leftover of a Roman bath. Another proof of Roman presence. Well, let's talk about it. Just over there. C'est volé de toi. Changer pour quelque chose d'autre.
D'accord.
Le bath.
Le bath.
Ouais, pour l'année prochaine. Faut améliorer ça. Okay, here to the left. Let's go down the stairs.
How many stairs?
Yes.
It's because there are a lot of hills, right?
A lot of?
Hills.
Yeah, there is. Nice. They're even longer in Switzerland. Yeah, they're very long tunnels here. Okay, we'll stop here. So quick stop here. Okay. This is a leftover of the Zurich version. Let's let the people out. That's a leftover of the Zurich version, and another proof, of course, of Roman presence here. Now, the bath played a very important role. It was a very relaxing place. People could wash themselves here, and most importantly, they felt super safe because nobody was armed. And people were naked here. They could really be sure that nobody would be armed close to them. So this was the place where they relaxed. And you see, this is part of the caldarium. It was part of the warm part of the bath. Heat has gone. But there are still some cigarettes inside. I heard from Julius Caesar when he came here to relax me. But what is also typical here is, have a look. This is all we have from the bath. And the baths were discovered quite recently, about 40, 50 years ago. And when the archaeologists discovered them, they went to the house owners and said, "Good news, there is a bath in your house. We could dig more and build it up." And what did the house owners say? Go home, exactly. And what do we have here? It's so-called a typical Swiss solution to a problem. Compromise. Typical way of compromise. Archaeologists want to build or rebuild the bath. House owners say niet, and this is what we've left. A little stripe with some proof of the Roman presence. And of course, here you have some more information. You get some more pictures on how it looked 1800 years ago. That's for the Roman bath. I would like now to take you again to an area that you already know, but now from a different perspective, because 72 years ago, a very famous guy called Winston Churchill held a speech here. And I believe it was his most beautiful speech ever. So let's see what Churchill told us about Europe. Let's go there. map. On the map we have a sign.
What about the other one?
You can swim. You're always in the swimming area with the ships, but generally you can swim. I would always just inform yourself before you ask people or sleep. Sorry, yeah. Even if you don't drink, but even if you drink water, nothing happens. It's not very
But there are ships there, and ships are dirty.
Yeah, it's not 100% clean, but it's not as dirty as many other waters, so it's not dangerous to swim there.
So it's fresh.
It's quite fresh, yeah.
Are there fish?
Yeah.
And now again, we see from so we start
Other fishes,
speaking about
little fish.
and actually now instead of that square, quite big. Since a couple of years ago, Google cars drive here, so in the middle there was a parking place. Now the city like, well actually we don't have so many places where the people, the locals and also the tourists
Okay, let's go here.
enjoy the
Careful. Yeah. Well, 72 years ago, in September 1946, just here a stage was built, and Winston Churchill came to Zurich. He came to the stage. This area was full of people, and he said the following words. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, today I'd like to talk to you about Europe." And let's realize where we've been. 1946, just 1 year after World War II. Many people believe that after World War II it was clear that there's going to be peace in the world. This is a bit the wrong reasoning, because after World War I there has been a very big peace movement, but instead of world peace, well, we had World War II, the even bigger catastrophe, and Churchill was very much aware of that. So what did he say us? He came here and said, and talked to us, or talked to the people here, about the future of Europe. And he said the only way to bring a long and also a lasting peace to this continent is through, not chocolate, through trade, through trade. He said a peace treaty is a piece of paper. If you don't like the treaty anymore, you tear it away and it's not valid, it's gone. But the trade, when people are trading with each other, they won't fight each other. If people know each other, they won't fight each other. If people travel, they won't fight their enemy, their friends. And most importantly, if economies are becoming interdependent, if the British economy depends on the German, which depends on the French, on the Italian, on the Swiss, on the Portuguese, and so on, no country will ever attack another one because its own economy will also collapse. So here we spoke about this reasoning about the importance of trading and working together. And he concluded, then he spoke about Europe should become like the United States or similar, where people are really getting closer. And he concluded this amazing speech with the following words. He said, "And therefore I say to you, let Europe arise." Steh auf, Europa. Translated. I believe it's not only all the everybody in the European Union, mainly the Swiss, we are very, very critical, including myself, on what's going on in Europe today, on the situation, on the problems that this continent is facing. But this is kind of a place that always remembers me and remembers all of us, where Europe has been 72 years ago and where Europe is now. And I definitely believe that in Churchill's spirit, Europe has arisen a lot. And let's all hope, of course, that the next 72 years will continue like the last 72 years. I think so far. Yes. Have you got any questions to that? Anything to add about politics, about situation here in Europe?
What is this building right here?
That's a building here. Oh, that's the unofficial part now. The building here is a trade guild house. Used to be a trade guild during medieval time. And here the wine traders. It was the headquarters of the wine traders. And some people say Churchill spoke here because the wine here is very good. But that's very unofficial. Apparently it was here. Now, well, we've spoken about many subjects. We spoke about history, about chocolate, about smart people, about politics, but we haven't spoken about one subject. About cheese. Well, about fondue, we had fondue. But there is another subject which is really taboo here. Nobody talks about that. But I usually like to break taboos. So let's do it. Let's go over there and talk about something people just don't talk about in Switzerland. Let's go.
By the tower that you said was the fire.
St. Peter, St. Peter's Church, yes. Okay, you see it's getting summer. We really had hot summer. And well, main season will still take part now in the middle of August. And main season means we have more guides, we have more people. And because we have more people, we obviously need more guides. And it's quite difficult to recruit motivated and good guides. It takes us a lot of time. So we decided we're going to make it differently. We're going to ask you some questions now. And if you answer them correctly, we're going to start next week. Okay, let's try out. Let's see what we remember. We're also going to try to be very chronological now, so we got a perfect overview again. So we started 2,000 years ago. Who were the first ones to settle down and build a city? Romans. How did the Romans call the city? Turicum. Why did the Romans come here? Trade and taxes and chocolate is unfortunately not the correct answer for this. Water and army. Then one of the first political decisions was to chase Christian believers. What was the name of the brother and sister? Felix and Regula. Very good. They were chased, killed by the water church. But instead of dying, they took their heads and walked how many steps? 40. Arrived over there. Who loved the story so much that he built their church? Now you see him, exactly. What's the official name of the church? Großmünster, and official here is? Fraumünster, exactly. So this is Großmünster. What's the unofficial name of the church? Salt and pepper you need for your food. What should you know when eating Swiss fondue? Well, either don't drop or
Eat it in winter.
eat it in winter, yeah. Don't drop it or just be correctly seated, however you want to seat, exactly. Then we also spoke about smart people. How many people of ETH have won a Nobel Prize? 21. What's the name? Can you name two? Einstein and Röntgen. You should learn a third, so you know more than I do. I know two, so learn a third, then you're really, really prepared. Then we also spoke about the army. When were we attacked last time? 200 against Napoleon. Today nobody will attack us. We have a good army and a lot of, how many bunkers? 45,000 with a capacity of 8.5 for the whole population. Very good. And of course, last and most important, two more things. One thing, what should you know? Let's say you start doing tours and you even want to live here and you even want to become a politician. What should you know? You see him, Hans Waldmann, exactly. And the last important thing is, who has got the best chocolate in the world? Well, those who said Switzerland, that was the correct answer. Those who said Belgium, I should go on private tour with you and work a bit on the way.